So here's a wild thought. Yu-Gi-Oh taught a whole generation that it's okay to gamble with your soul on TV as long as you called it the Shadow Realm. And if a monster was rare enough and had over 3,000 attack points, it was worth crashing out over and potentially, putting someone's elder in a hospital. This show made ritual sacrifice look cool on a Saturday morning, corporate takeover a regular thing, and kidnapping like it was a walk in the park. And all this happened because of images printed onto cards and ancient magical items linked to the past that could eventually lead to the world's destruction, but mostly the images on cardstock. If you somehow haven't guessed it, even though I said the name originally, we're going over Yu-Gi-Oh today, specifically Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters. So, that's cool. Because unless you have lived under a rock, there's no way you wouldn't know. Yu-Gi-Oh! Just wasn't about the cards. It was a pop culture nuke. And today, we're digging through every phase of the original Duel Monsters. From the edgy origins to the one-time Kaiba built a space station to travel back in time to run the Fade one last time. And honestly, I'm sure that altered the timeline so badly that Yu-Gi-Oh! Ended up with rush duels, or bare minimum, bonds beyond time. Because where would that movie even take place in the official timeline? I can only accept this happened after Battle City so many times. But regardless, none of that matters till it does. For right now, we're talking the wins, the losses, and the legacy of a franchise that went from, hey, this manga is kind of weird, to you activated my trap card being a national catchphrase. So stick around, and I'll tell you how a dead pharaoh, invisible guns, and a children's card game somehow became sacred text for millennials. So I'm Remy, and I just want to know if anyone's checked on Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters, and if not, let's. Yu-Gi-Oh! Started off as a horror manga. Yeah, horror, oddly enough. The creator, Kazuki Takahashi, RIP the GOAT, wasn't trying to sell you Blue Eyes the White Dragon off rip. He initially started writing/drawing Yu-Gi-Oh! He was creating a story about a bullied kid who got possessed by a vengeful spirit and forced people into deadly games. Completely normal manga stuff. In its earliest chapters of the manga, it had Russian roulette, killer yo-yos, a surprising amount of arson, a couple of dead bodies, and one superhero that would later become a card in the TCG. But then Takahashi dropped chapter 9, Cards with Teeth, and little did he know, he just changed the world forever. Readers got obsessed with the one-off game, Duel Monsters. The reaction to this chapter was so strong, the tone shifted. The manga reinvented itself into a card battle saga. No longer was the manga just called Yu-Gi-Oh! It reinvented itself as Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelist, and history was never the same. That to say, there's more to the manga than just Duelist, there's also Yu-Gi-Oh! R, which I feel a lot of people don't know about because manga's not very popular over here in the West. I'm sure hardcore Yu-Gi-Oh! Fans already know about this, but for casual fans, aka people like me who stopped watching the show after 5Ds, this would have flown under my radar if I hadn't read the entire manga at Barnes & Nobles when I was younger. Yo, shout out for Barnes & Nobles, dog. They kept me entertained at malls because I was poor and reading is free. But long story short, this takes place after Battle City because of course it does. Yugi and Yami, or Tim if you want to use his government name, have to deal with the adopted son of Pegasus, and like every villain in Yu-Gi-Oh, he starts off by taking Kaiba's company, Kaiba Corp. Also, there's one thing that has always bugged me about that. Why is his company so easy to take over? It's like if somebody walks into his office and Kaiba's not there, they sit in his 500,000 Herman Miller Blue Eyes chair and say, no takes backs, this is mine now. They just become a CEO of Kaiba Corp. Like, what is this company? How does this keep happening? This has to be like a rule in their mission statement, because if not, Kaiba's got to get better lawyers or something, doc, because once was bad enough, multiple times is just embarrassing. And also, someone gets kidnapped. Like, that happens. And that's how you know it's going to be a good arc. So if you get the chance, I say give this manga a go. It's a fun time overall, and also, it doesn't affect the overarching timeline of Yu-Gi-Oh! Like it's a movie, because all the movies just laugh at the timeline in its face and tell it, what are you doing here? You serve no purpose. We got 2 movies that already messed that up, but you know what, whatever. With that done, how did this shift turn into one of the biggest anime empires of the early 2000s? To find out, we first got to start with Season 0. So let's talk Season 0. Yeah, the weird, dark Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime that almost no one saw, but totally everyone saw it, but you probably shouldn't have. It's edgy, it's violent, and it treats games like they're all saw traps. This is Yu-Gi-Oh! Before the monsters, before the dueling, before everything else. This is the what could have been, pretty much. Toei did a 1-season adaptation of the original manga. It kept the darker tone, it also kept the bizarre hair colors. Like, have y'all seen Season 0? Kaiba, why is he looking like a Zoro cosplay? You gotta stop that, brother. On everything, I'm so glad they changed that. But the real horror wasn't the green hair. It was the games. Because in this version, Yugi wasn't winning to win the duel or to take your best card or even your star chips. Yugi was winning to hand out psychological trauma for fun. We're talking shadow games, not the cool ancient spiritual duels we'll see in the future. I mean like actual, somebody finna get thrown into Tartarus levels of shadow games. Because these games had penalty rounds. If you cheated or if you just lost, you would get your mind crushed, your soul devoured, or even your brain scrambled. This happens so often, Yugi's go-to move in this version version of Yugi was mind crushing people. He would literally just like, hey, you lost the game. I'm sorry. The rest of your life is ruined. Here you go. Now, granted, he normally did that to bad guys, but like still, that's a bit harsh. That's all I'm saying. Like, dang, bro, you ain't want to send him to jail or something? Nope. He's gonna live with a delusion and trapped in a nightmare tailored to the exact game he just played, because irony is the best kind of punishment, apparently. And that's just a Tuesday for season 0. But the thing is, you would think there's some alternate universe Yugi or some other way to retcon this, but no, this is technically the origin of Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, if you read the manga, this is where it starts. These are how everybody gets introduced. You meet Joey, Tristan, Taya, Bakura, Kaiba, Mokuba. Everyone's here. The whole gang is here, and this is how they're introducing the series. For example, Joey and Tristan get their start off here. Obviously, they start off as Yugi's bullies because, you know, they gotta have a bully thing or whatever. But eventually, they come through, they lock in, and you love the guys even more because they realize, man, we shouldn't be mean to this kid who's just trying to have fun and play games. Eventually, they help him find the Millennium Puzzle, just like in the actual anime when they start off with season 1. So it's kind of nice. Next we get to Taya. She's still Yugi's crush. Only this time he saves her from an armed robbery. As you know, totally normal high school stuff. Kaiba, Kaiba's on a whole other level. Technically, he's not the smug CEO we have grown to love over the years. This Kaiba's a full-blown psychopath. Let's just be honest here. He pulls a gun on Yugi, a literal gun. This boy is strapped up for some reason. Yu-Gi-Oh! In Season 0 had so many guns, you'd think they live in Texas or somewhere in the South, and not Japan with all their strict gun laws. Because where are they getting these guns from? Like, bro, put down the piece, pick up the cardboard. Come on, people. Be better, do better. Yu-Gi-Oh! For change. Anyway, hearing all this, now you understand why this season never made it to Western TV. Even 4Kids couldn't sanitize this. There's not enough invisible air guns and awkward edits in the world to make this look sorta wholesome. But honestly, that's okay. Because right after this season, we got Studio Gallop. They stepped in. They saw the potential, the toys, the merchandising, the billion-dollar card economy in the making. And they said, hey, we'll take it from here, big guy. You've done enough. We're gonna pretend you don't exist now. And because they said that and they did that, what came next was literally legendary. So let's crack open the true beginnings of this card-slinging empire. Welcome to Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters. This is where people got hooked. Yugi, the Pharaoh, Kaiba, and a card game with more lore than most fantasy novels. But back then, cards used to have flavor text for the sake of flavor text. Nowadays, you need a whole law degree to understand, oh man, I sure wish my card in the graveyard would activate. Oh wait, it doesn't activate because the Moxie challenge, and all of a sudden the Ash Blossom happens. And now this other card I discarded 2 turns ago is activating in the graveyard, but I don't understand why it's activating because I just hit toggle on and stuff's happening, and modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Hurts me. You can't make me read. I net deck this deck and it's not working how it did in the YouTuber's video. I'm scared. Someone send help. I'm never playing Master Duel again. I got some things to work out when it comes to modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Regardless, when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh! The story starts off quite simple. Win some duels, save Grandpa's rare card, but then it immediately escalates to win more duels, save Grandpa's soul. Back-to-back Grandpa trauma. This man is going through it. Someone check on this man. His grandson might be the literal death of him. But the spiral doesn't even stop there. Suddenly, we're knee-deep in ancient Egyptian politics, then multiverse timelines, literal gods descending from the sky. You know, on paper, that sounds kind of crazy, but if you watch the show, contextually, it tracks. But that's not it. There's also weird side quests these people went on. Remember that one time Kaiba's lost his company again? But this time it was a bunch of old heads and they were in a VR game and then their lives were on the line, so that happened. Or that one time they battled a Cthulhu cult in Atlantis. That also happened. There was also like dragons and Tamayas. But there's also that one time they shot dice at that guy's crib because he thought he could sell dice to a bunch of Yu-Gi-Oh! Players. Like, why would he do that? There's also that time they had that Pokemon ripoff with capsules. Or that other time where they had a tournament that no one remembers, but that guy cheated with a super broken card because how do you hack cardboard? Whatever. Anyway, they do a lot of weird stuff in these side quests in this show. Despite all this chaos, all the side quests, and all the extra filler content and nonsense, this formula worked. Tons of kids tuned in each week just to see if the friendship could save the day again, if top decks would happen, if everything would work out. And spoiler alert, they usually did. Except that one time Yugi lost, but technically it wasn't canon, but he did lose and he crashed out hard. The Weevil got beat. That's always gonna be fun. Monster card though. I'm gonna throw a clip. That's hilarious. So let's get into some of the main arcs that grab the interest of kids all over the globe. Let's start off with the first arc of Duel Monsters, which is literally the least unhinged thing this show ever did, the Duelist Kingdom arc. The Duelist Kingdom, no tribute summons, no real rules, moon attacks, also Bandit Keith. This season was just vibes, monsters, and Pegasus being dramatically allergic to not being the focus of attention at all times. That, and we're introduced to our first Millennium item that isn't Yugi's puzzle, the Millennium Eye, which honestly, straight up just cheating. That man created a game, which he technically didn't, but he kind of did. But he also just straight up cheated in his own game, which is super, whatever. I mean, I'm being stupid about stuff, but still bothers me a little bit. Anyway, like most evil billionaires, his power comes from selling souls. And in this case, a grandfather and a child, which I guess is actually more like a billionaire than I meant to make this joke, but still, it tracks. Evil people are rich. That is our world. Anyway, on a more fun note, something to be said about all the rich people in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is that all their money comes from something card game related. I think it's so great that everything in that world revolves around this stupid piece of paper, and everyone's a billionaire from it. Kaiba can commission a $200 million Blue Eyes White Dragon jet, and no one would probably bat an eye because, oh, that's Seto Kaiba. Clearly, the guy that runs Kaiba Corp needs a Blue Eyes White Dragon jet. That's his boss monster. That makes sense. No, you're weird for thinking it's weird. Anyway, how's Duelist Academy coming along? That's clearly the next highest level of education for any students in the future. Duelist Academy. I love that so much. It's so stupid, but it's so amazing. That aside, I'd have to say this arc is remembered more for its style rather than its logic. It's dramatic, it's flashy, it's got people's souls on the line for a card game, and for the first time, that's pretty crazy. Also, Bandit Keith has a gun. So great. And if the souls weren't enough emotional stakes, there's even more. Kaiba is willing to throw away his company, his reputation, his health, his sanity, just to protect his little brother, which is noble, but I feel like he's going about it the wrong way, i.e. blackmailing Yugi that he's going to off himself if he doesn't let him win. And like, I get what he's trying to do. I can't really condone it because, like, that's horrible. Because, like, dang, bro, I get it. Your brother's on the line, but also his grandfather. But you was really letting, like, hey, man, you gonna be a murderer. All my friends are dead. It's real crazy. It's real crazy. But on the flip side, you have Joey, a broke teenager fighting his way through a tournament that he barely understands to win the prize money to save his sister with eye surgery. That's some real underdog energy. It's no wonder he became a fan favorite. He's passionate, he's scrappy, and unlike a CEO, he doesn't pull out a duel just like it's a Glock. All I'm saying is, if Kaiba and you were playing basketball and he goes to his car and reaches for a backpack, you better run, because that man isn't carrying a weapon, he's carrying a duel disc, which is probably scarier. Also, side note, I really like the prototype duel disc they use in this arc. It never comes back again, but I think it's such a cool design. Just wanted to say that. Anyway, this arc was fun, nothing too crazy. If you ignore the manga ending, which was like a little bit more darker and kind of violent, but that's just Bakura being Bakura in the background. But hey, what I'm talking about today is the dub version, where it's not as edgy, because in-universe, friendship power-ups are canon, and sometimes with the heart of the cards, you can beat mind reading, because reasons. Anyway, this is a fun start for the show. Eventually, this leads into the best arc in the series. If you don't agree with me, that's fine, you're just wrong. Battle City. Okay, so this is peak. Not even just Yu-Gi-Oh! Peak, just peak anime in general. This arc has everything. High stakes, twist on twist. Bandit Keith is back again, foreshadowing for the final arc. And Merrick Face doing things that probably should come with a jump scare warning. That man is unhinged and it's amazing. Oh, and also they start following the rules for the actual card game, sorta. But besides from that, Kaiba. Because my boy Kaiba, he goes above and beyond. He either buys, rents, or maybe just builds an entire city for this. No explanation, no zoning permit, just pure energy and maybe a bit of lobbying because, you know, he might be in somebody else's spot. You know, I'm not here to pocket watch Kaiba. I'm not, but like, where'd that city permit come from, dog? I feel like you can't just buy that. But if Kaiba wants something done, he's gonna do it himself. And that's really cool. If Yugi wasn't the main character, Kaiba would have been such a cool main character. And I know I joked about Kaiba Corp before, but I looked it up. So apparently they solved an energy crisis in universe, but like also a space elevator and satellites and defense technology apparently, and probably gaming chairs on the side. I don't know. Kaiba is like the coolest tech bro, but also like he's a tech bro. So it's kind of 50-50 on that one. Anyway, he builds a city, or maybe just finds one, to run like an arena. He invites duelists from all over the world just to be in this tournament so he could get a run back from Yugi. Even though he cheated to win, I guess he felt bad about it, so he threw a giant tournament to tell his boyfriend, hey bruh, I need to run back my ones, dog. I didn't like how that ended last time. Get your duel disc, get your Dark Magician, run the set. But say what you will about the plot, this man was down horrendous for that rematch, and it was great. And then he still doesn't win. But the way this man goes about it, peak drama, peak ego, peak Kaiba. This is the arc where the God cards show up and change the game entirely. They do an actual well, it's a virtual Coliseum, but it's a Coliseum. We get multi-stage tournaments, tag team duels, four-way duels, duels with freaking laser saws. Bandit Keith is peak. Is peak. Oh my goodness, this is everything an 11-year-old me, you could have asked for. And let's talk about the MVP of this entire arc, Joey freaking Wheeler. This man fights his heart out multiple times in this tournament. He's outsmarted his way through. He's outdogged his way through everybody else. And he's won countless times. Well, not countless times, you can count it. But he has done the most to get where he is in the finals. And when he wins, when he finally beats the big bad of the series, the writers cuck him. Straight up cuck my man. The writers cheat him out of his win because they needed plot armor to kick in. I know, you know, we all know Joey should have won that duel. Put some respect to the man from Brooklyn with the red eyes. My guy is a GOAT. Do not sleep on Joey Wheeler. But still, the finals regardless are still pretty amazing. We're talking soul on the line, fate of the world levels of drama, marriage faces contorting in ways that are probably not physically possible, Raw, Summon, Obelisk, Slifer, everything is popping off. And then what? Battle City goes down as one of the greatest arcs in all anime, period. I do not care, not just for the duels, but for all that came before it and what comes after it. Because all this God card energy is doing something to the world. All the Shadow Game stuff is starting to creep in. Yeah, that's the Pharaoh's past starting to break through the cracks of reality practically. It's no longer just about cards. It's about ancient Egyptian magic, artifacts, long lost memories, and oh yeah, turns out Bakura was the real villain this entire time. Turns out the Millennium Ring, super evil, super interesting. Oh yeah, Bakura, the British exchange student, not really talking about it, but he's important. He's so important. But like, it's just, oh, it was so cool when that happened. Like, oh, you thought Bakura was just sort of evil. Nah, dog. This is the big bad. This is the man you should have been scared of from the jump. Oh, it's such a good reveal for me. Because he's been scheming since episode 1. So how does Ancient Spirits, a cursed puzzle, a millennium-long grudge, lead to one of the most emotional goodbyes in all the franchise? Let's talk about the final arc, man. Remember when this whole thing started with saving Grandpa? Yeah, forget that. Now we're in deep. Because the show's finally asking the big questions. Who is Yami Yugi? Why are the Millennium items so important? And what's really going on with Bakura? These answers are buried in the past. That's not just an exaggeration. I mean like literally in ancient Egypt. So the gang figures out how to time travels and they head to ancient Egypt. That just goes to show how far off the rails this show has gone from season 0 practically, or even season 1, all the way now to the final arc we're currently in. And now look, I'm gonna go on a really quick tangent real fast. I thought about this a little too hard, but how did the events in Egypt in the past happen without the help of the modern day crew helping from the shadows? Like, is that a paradox, a loop? Whatever it is, I'm not going to spiral too deep down this subject, but it's something that's always bothered me. I've never really got a good resolution on it. Anyway, while we're back in time, we meet not Kaiba and not Yugi, two ancient lookalikes that kick off a rivalry that literally transcends lifetimes. During this arc, we see how they both get their iconic boss monster cards, Blue Eyes and Dark Magician. And overall, kind of depressing. Like, it's not like super sad or anything, but it's like, dang, this is how you get Blue Eyes and Dark Magician? That kind of sucks, but I mean, I guess you got them, but still, kind of sucks. And if you couldn't tell by now, this is a very lore-heavy arc. We also get the origins of the Millennium items during this. Turns out, they were forged using some pretty, we can definitely say questionable methods. And by questionable methods, I mean human sacrifice, which honestly is more season 0 Yu-Gi-Oh than modern Yu-Gi-Oh, which is kind of ironic that he went like all the way back to the beginning for these darker tones. Or maybe I'm thinking too hard about it, I'm not sure. Either way, the Millennium Puzzle, Millennium Ring, Millennium Eye, so on and so forth are kind of just blood diamonds. So think of that now. So eventually, after all these lore drops and the side quests that happen so the Pharaoh can see his past, we finally get to the big reveal, the final drop. The Pharaoh's real name is Atem, a forgotten pharaoh who sealed away the ancient evil, and this whole time, he wasn't doing to be the champion. Without fully knowing it, he was trying to finish a 3,000-year-old blood match against an evil god thing with a snake in a place it probably shouldn't be. Like, what was that design? Why did they put that right there? It's super weird, but whatever. And with that, the Pharaoh finds his true history, his true name, and finally defeats the evil and gets all the Millennium items back and decides to seal them all away for eternity now. And finally, we get to the last duel of the canon series, Atem versus Yugi, a one-on-one that will never be topped. And you know what? I'm gonna just say it real fast. Atem went easy on him. Yeah, you can't convince me Yugi beat him clean. Like, come on, let's be so for real right now. Atem was a king, the literal king of games. Yugi just hit puberty in the last arc. But honestly, Atem was ready to lose. That man has spent centuries trapped inside of a puzzle. He wanted to clock out and take a nap in the sky. He was done. He solved the problems. He got the Millennium items back. He's like, hey, Yugi, you got this from here. I'm gonna let you quote-unquote win. But that's just me kind of beating around the bush. It was honestly a solid send-off. Yugi finally grew into his own person. He finally surpassed the pharaoh and he earned the title King of Games. And everybody got closure, well, except for Kaiba, who immediately started plotting another rematch. And to do said rematch, he would travel back in time, but that doesn't happen to another future movie, but that's a whole other can of Duel Monsters I don't want to touch right now. So continuing, from a series that started with the Blue Eyes White Dragon being the world's greatest card, to ending with the crew back in ancient Egypt stopping an ancient evil from destroying the world in the past and affecting the future, this show brought everything full circle. It wrapped up the story with real emotional weight, and it gave the King of Games the goodbye he deserved. But Yu-Gi-Oh! Doesn't just end here, because it left a ripple across the culture. The world was never the same after Yu-Gi-Oh! Dropped. The card game exploded, tournaments, banned card, kids getting suspended for betting lunch money like it was an underground economy. Me personally, I definitely had an uncle who definitely lived in Japan who could definitely hook me up with cards early, and I definitely didn't just print out fake cards at a public library and glue them onto vanilla cards and then sell them on the playground. But if someone did do that, they'd probably be a young entrepreneur. Just saying, put me on Shark, put that kid on Shark Tank, because I definitely didn't do that. And I definitely didn't use that money to buy Game Boy games all the time. But, you know, hypothetically, if someone did do that, that'd be pretty smart. The point is, Yu-Gi-Oh! Got very big. Like, me going to GameStop was completely linked to me selling Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards on the playground doing my side hustle. Quote unquote, not me, but you get what I'm saying. And oddly enough, this wasn't purely based off the anime. This is because the TCG, the card game, got bigger than the anime itself. It built entire communities, led to lifelong friendships, and has entertained people for decades. Even 4Kids doing what 4Kids does best, like airbrushing the guns out or replacing death with the Shadow Realm, censoring anything that was spicier than a bottle of mayonnaise, all led to some of the funniest memes you've ever seen in your life. The edits were hilarious, and even that brought on the Abridged series, which shout out Little Creeper. While I don't watch Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged anymore, I don't even know if he's still doing it, but that man pretty much is the father of bridging, and he's so talented, and he was so funny back in the day. He might still be funny now. I don't watch his stuff, but if I did, I felt like he'd probably keep with the level of comedy. Regardless, just shout out Little Karibo. Because of all this, Yu-Gi-Oh! Never left the conversation, and while it just started as a TCG, Yu-Gi-Oh! Built a massive digital legacy also. From Game Boys to mobile apps to Master Duel, with all this digital accessibility, you can duel anyone from anywhere. The Shadow Realm is only a Wi-Fi signal away, which is so cool. So when I say Yu-Gi-Oh! Has games for days, actually I'm underselling it. They've got games for years, decades even, if I'm being honest. And honestly, I want to talk about them all in depth. But I'm not trying to make this video longer than it already is, because this IP has everything. The original story covered, spin-off content covered. They even got a Dungeons Dice Monsters game. Like, why do they even have that? But they do. It feels like every new Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime gets a new game eventually, and if it doesn't, it'll just get folded into Master Duel or Duel Links at some point, or some legacy DLC compilation game. Konami has spent over a decade making sure you can play this IP on every device available whenever you can and whenever they want you to. Now, confession time. I haven't played every Yu-Gi-Oh! Game in existence. Yeah, I know. I'm a fake fan. I should feel embarrassed. I should do better. But you know what? It is what it is. And don't get me wrong, I played a decent amount of the PS1, 2, DS, GBA, all those Yu-Gi-Oh! Games on those consoles. I have definitely played a decent amount of them. But after a while, I discovered how cool RPGs are and fell off the Yu-Gi-Oh! Train when it came to the video games. Personally, I blame Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories for changing my life. That game taught me you could do more with cards than just summoning dragons. You could unlock emotional trauma, which, like, you know what? That's pretty dope. No, it isn't, but yes, it kind of is. But seriously, from the Game Boy all the way to the PS5, Yu-Gi-Oh! Has been releasing something on everything for every generation. You want old school rules? Oh, they got it. You want anime-specific decks? Let me check. Oh, wait, they got it. You want completely broken mechanics that would never work in real life? Oh, buddy, have you heard of Duel Links? Because guess what? They got it. And speaking of mobile apps, technically, I tried Master Duel a little while ago, and I kind of alluded to this earlier, but that game hurt me in a way I haven't been hurt in such a long time. It's like a trusted friend I knew from when I was a childhood came up to me, slapped me in the face, and said, "Hey, they left you behind, old man, because you don't know what's happening anymore in modern Yu-Gi-Oh!" Because I got cooked by a pendulum deck so bad, I uninstalled and immediately straight up rage quit. Because I was like, how do you summon that many creatures on one turn? What happened to one monster defense mode and calling it maybe like a trapper spell? Nah, these kids are literally moving different in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm like, what is an Ash Blossom? How does that even work? What is Link summoning? I stopped at 5Ds. Synchro summoning is where I capped at. Why is Mirror Force not that good anymore? I don't understand modern Yu-Gi-Oh! And it kind of hurts me. And you know what? That's okay. Because even if I don't fully recognize the game anymore, I still think it's cool that Yu-Gi-Oh has evolved to the point that it's lasted this long and still, dropping new content for newer players. Which, once again, it does kind of suck because I still don't get how pendulum summoning works. Like, synchro summoning makes sense to me. Maybe that's because I watch 5Ds, but like, how is that fair? How is pendulum summoning even? Whatever, it's fine. Goodness. So we're at the end of the video, and it wouldn't feel right to wrap this up without saying something more. Kazuki Takahashi, the creator of Yu-Gi-Oh, passed away in 2022. He died trying to save others from drowning. The man was a real hero, just like the ones he wrote about in his story. He lived his truth, and in doing so, he gave the world more than just a card game, more than just a show, and more than just memes, dice, dragons, and dramatic hair. He gave us something to believe in, something that even as it changed, it never lost its heart. We started with Grandpa's deck and no garbage cards. Simple rules, no tributes, just vibes. Pegasus stealing souls, Kaiba trying to rip off the elderly, and Joey fighting for something always bigger than himself. And then the rules tightened up, the stakes got higher, then suddenly this goofy anime became a saga about gods, Egyptian curses, defying fate by beating the odds of friendships that'll last lifetimes. And somehow, all of that worked. We grew up watching a kid slap down a card and change destiny. Even if the game evolved beyond us, even if he dropped out after GX or got pendulum into early retirement, the memory stayed, the trades on the playgrounds, the homebrew decks, making up rules when you're losing, the fake cards you found on the internet that looked super cool that were never real, the heartbreak when Mirror Force ruined your entire plan. And that's the thing, no matter how wild Yu-Gi-Oh got, it always came back to that one idea. With enough belief and enough heart and the right top deck, you could turn the game around. So maybe it's just a card game, maybe it's just a show, but for some of us, it's a whole era. A fun time, something that sparked creativity, something bigger than ourselves. And I'm glad I was a part of it, even for a little while. So, I'm Remy. Thanks for letting me check up on Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters. It's been fun. Like and subscribe and all of the fun stuff, and I will see y'all in the next one. Y'all be easy. Later. Oh, also, if y'all want to follow up like on the 3 movies, yo, let me know in the comments. I'm gone for real this time. Wait, no, I'm not. I just want to say that theme song, I didn't really talk about it, but it's amazing. Also, the VA for Yugi and it's him. Those are the world's greatest cast picks. Oh my gosh, the voice director nailed it. He super nailed it. Okay, I'm gone for real this time. Okay, bye.